So a very good afternoon, boys and girls, and welcome back to another video. Welcome to the banks of the River Humber. I've come out today to talk about all the things that I've learned over the last few years shooting Micro Four Thirds. So let's get stuck into it. Let me tell you why I love these little cameras. So first of all, let me talk about creative freedom. I'm just going to crouch down out of the wind in the hope that it does subside a little bit, but creative freedom. I've never used a camera that has quite so many creative controls as this OM System OM1 Mark II. Let's take for instance the live ND feature. I can simulate ND filters inside of the camera without having to physically carry them around with me. The same can also be said for GNDs, graduated neutral density filters. That's a very long word, but the camera can also simulate grads as well, so it means I don't have to carry those with me. Now I do tend to carry physical ND filters because there are times when they come in useful, but I haven't had to use a physical graduated filter for quite some time because this camera can do it for me. I can throw this camera into lifetime, light bulb and live composite modes, and I can do all kinds of long exposures and stacking, all in camera, all outputting raw files. It's a fantastic tool to use if you like long exposure photography. If you're somebody that enjoys macro photography, the focus stacking in here is second to none. You can tell it the focus differential, you can tell it how many shots you want to take, and the camera will stack them for you, give you a JPEG output, and you can see if your stack is going to be successful before you even get home. So if you want to talk about a camera that has creative control and creative controls built in it, look no further than this one right here. Next I want to talk about my hood flying up at me, but I also want to talk about the larger depth of field. I'm not one of these photographers that likes to shoot everything at f1.8 and blare backgrounds out. I like to shoot somewhat the opposite. I like a larger depth of field. I like more of my photograph to fall in that focus zone, and the small sensor on here, the larger depth of field, it plays perfectly into the kind of photography that I like to do, which is landscapes and long exposures where I need that depth of field. I don't like to shoot everything at f1.8 and blare things out because it just doesn't interest me. I like the image stabilization in this camera. 8.5 stops worth of it, and this hood is going to do my head in, but it is going to be what it's going to be. But I do like the 8.5 stops of image stabilization in this camera. Before I moved over to OM System from Canon, I was religiously shooting on tripods because I just couldn't hold a camera still, much like my hood doesn't want to stay still. I could not for the life of me do handheld photography, especially when the low light situations developed, or even on a bit of a grey and overcast day like today. I just found myself a little bit out of my comfort zone. But the stabilisation in this has counteracted that, and I'm able to use less tripods and have a little bit more freedom when out with my photography. You will notice there are no ND filters on the front of this. I have the live ND turned on. The camera is in shutter speed priority mode, and we have a second dialed in. And before I got this camera, I wouldn't have been able to do things like this. There is a white lighthouse just behind my shoulder. Watch this. If I focus on the lighthouse, 1 second exposure, twist and rotate. Here is a really lovely, swirly, intentional camera movement photograph with absolutely no ND filters on the front of this, weighing the lens down. I like how easily adaptable vintage lenses are to a camera like this. Now, fair enough, your 50mm, your 35mm, your 135s are all going to essentially double in focal length. But hey, it's free reach, isn't it? At home I have a 135mm f2.8 lens. Granted, I don't use it an awful lot, but when I do throw it on this, I have the equivalent of a 270mm lens, a very fast 270mm lens. I like that I can go out and buy third-party lenses. These TT Artisan, 7 Artisan, Brighton Star, all of these Chinese companies are making fantastic little lenses for the Micro Four Thirds systems. You can get some lovely, fantastic, fast little things for next to no money. It's just a beautiful little thing. You don't have to go out there and break the bank on a lens or remove a hood. It's just one of those things that I like about it. The lens choice, it really is out there. I like shooting with a camera from a camera company who prioritises firmware updates and getting the most out of their hardware than releasing a new camera every 12 seconds, such as some of the bigger Japanese companies tend to do. I like firmware updates. Bring new features to a camera that I already own instead of making me go out there and buy the next best thing. I like instantaneous and accurate autofocus performance. Despite some of the myths and misconceptions around micro four thirds cameras, autofocus is absolutely on point. I like weather sealing. It's not quite raining yet, but I can feel some rain is coming along the way. But with this lens and body combination, I have no worries about coming out and shooting in a shower. A lot of people seem to think high-end weather sealing is left for full frame cameras, when in fact, well, that is a bit of a lie. This camera here I've shot in rain, I've shot in snow, and I've shot waterfalls in Iceland with it. And I'll tell you what, I've never faulted it. I like to be different. Too many people on here on YouTube using the latest and greatest from Sony and Canon, and to be honest, it gets a little bit boring, and I wanted to do something that stood out a little bit. And micro four thirds on YouTube, it definitely stands out a little bit. I like to do it my way. Everybody out there on the internet tells you need the latest and greatest full frame camera. No, you don't. You can go out and take some really nice, really lovely photographs with the camera that you have in your camera bag, and this one's mine. I like to take photographs with it. I like being able to take 80 megapixel RAW files from a 20 megapixel camera. High resolution shooting mode, beautiful thing, all that resolution, all that dynamic range, and all that noise performance. I like the customizable options on this camera. I like being able to tell each individual button and dial what I want it to do. Now, there are cameras out there that can do very similar things, but I've never come across one where you can program quite so many things. Even the lens has a function button. Who knew it? So there we go, just a few of the reasons why I love my micro four thirds camera. If you have enjoyed today's video, please do give it a like and a thumbs up. It does help to bring new viewers to see my content. And if you're a micro four thirds fan like I am, you can always hit subscribe down below and you'll see more micro four thirds nonsense every single week. So until the next time, I'm going to love you and leave you. Get out of this wind and just say peace and goodbye.